Hello and welcome to J.P. Murray's Association Hustle Podcast. President of the Murray Company, JP's mission is to arm today's associations with insight and strategy to thrive in a progressively complex and competitive business landscape. 21st century associations must move forward with a little bit of hustle and revenue development at their core. Here's JP.
Hi, it's JP. Great to be with you. Today's topic is the greatest business advice I've ever received. A lot of these tips come from people that I respect, colleagues. Others come from family members. That's number 10, by the way. Stay with me until number 10. I think it's worth hanging around for. Others are things that I gather from other thought leaders and people that I like to consume their content. So let's get started. Number 1, burn the boats. I don't know if you know the story, but in 1519, Captain Hernan Cortez landed in Veracruz to begin his great conquest, and upon arriving, he reportedly gave an order to his men to burn the ships in which they arrived in. In essence, he gave them no other option but to succeed at the goal of conquering. So here's the lesson. Retreat and failure is always easy when you have the option to do so. I see this a lot with my colleagues that want to start their own businesses. And they ask me, what advice do you have? Burn the boats. Don't give yourself an option of going back and doing what you used to or applying for a job. Number 2, know the numbers. Oh my gosh, this is a weakness of mine. But I've learned how to read a balance sheet, understand cash flow, look at my P&L, and I had to force myself to have this rigor, to adopt it. Financial literacy for the leader provides you the ability to look ahead and anticipate and plan, and that's helped me tremendously during the pandemic. Number 3, the market doesn't care. I think I received this from Gary Vaynerchuk, and he is so right. The internet has democratized business and communication. The wonderful thing about the world now is, frankly, there are no gatekeepers. I can launch a podcast for $500. I've got a media company. I can start a business with very little, resistance in the way. I don't have to grovel to a bank for capital. And because of that, however, customers decide if you are good or not, or if they want to buy. They don't owe you. No one does. It's the ultimate free market. And that's what it is at its best. That's what it is at its worst. Because if you don't make it, nobody cares. Number 4, set up the organization 5 years ahead. I got this tip from a book I read called The E-Myth Revisited. That means all the job descriptions, the org chart, set it up for 5 years from now, and then assign someone those tasks. And in fact, many cases, that person is going to be you. I set up an organization for 5 years down the road. It had an accounting person. It had a marketing person. It had HR. It had someone in charge of IT. And the realization of going through that step was this: oh my gosh, I'm in charge of all this stuff. And I wasn't prepared or trained or to do many of those things, but it did help me learn, and it also helped me recognize the importance of those roles in the organization. And when I saw things that I wasn't going to be able to do, or I wasn't prepared for at all on day 1, those were the first people I went out to hire. Number 5, set up your sales organization first. I don't care if you're the best pie maker, the best rapper in the world, the best business person in terms of the product you develop. If you don't have the sales operation, you'll go out of business. So one of the things that we've been pretty good about is making sure that we're optimized on the sales side. So every opportunity that possibly is out there, or the ones that we're aware of, we're reaching out and we're trying to close those deals. If you don't have sales, you don't have a business. Number 6, make the pitch, then look them in the baby blues and shut up. The next guy that speaks loses. That was a story that Tom Donahue told me many years ago. He's the president and CEO of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. He just stepped down, and my colleague Suzanne Clark is the new president and CEO of the Chamber. But Tom was one of the most prolific fundraisers of all time, and I asked him, how do you sell? And he said, it was that simple. Number 7, Develop a value statement. In our company, it's collaboration, ownership, honesty, dedication, an all-in attitude. Critical, absolutely critical in the early days of our business or when new people arrive that we can talk about it. And I would be lying if I said, every day I look at our value statement. I don't. But we do visit it on a regular basis. We proactively have developed a culture that I think does kind of encompass all those things. Advice point number 8, fire your clients. I've learned over time that it isn't because of the business or the process or that one organization can't do its job or the other can or something like that why projects fail. You know what I've learned? Our values don't align. The collaboration, ownership, honesty, and dedication aspect from both organizations don't exist together. And those are the clients that you should fire because it won't end up working out in the long term. And by the way, I never followed this advice. I'm the last person to fire a client, even though I know we should. Number 9. Work is what you do, not where you are. This is an old story, but it's true. I remember when my boss called me at 7:30 in the morning one day when I was working downtown. I have no idea why I was in that early because I didn't do that very often. I probably didn't remember to move my clock back or something. But I was rewarded because my boss called. He picked up the phone, so did I, and I could literally hear the smile on his face. But to be honest with you, it was about being in the seat at the time that it happened. It didn't have anything to do about my performance. Remember, we used to reward Jane and Johnny for coming in early and staying late. We were compensating and rewarding behavior that had very little to do with output or success. The fact that I adopted work is what you do, not where you are, enabled us to go into a virtual work environment early, and we never missed a day of work due to the pandemic because we already had the systems in place. Number 10. Oh, this is one for you. If you've met more than one asshole today, maybe it's you. Sorry for the profanity, but I think it really delivers the message. My father, Johnny Murray, gave me this advice during a complaint-ridden phone call about my boss, about my members, about my staff, about the guy who cut me off in traffic. And he said that to me, and it caused me to reflect. When everyone is busting your chops and you're doing a lot of pointing, maybe want to turn that finger around and look at yourself. Those are 10 little nuggets that I've learned over time, and gosh, they sure have helped me in business. Hey, I'm so grateful that you would listen to this podcast. I got a little treat for you. If you would like your own copy of Association Hustle, please email me, jp@murraycompany.com. I'll send you a link and you can fill out your address and I'll get one right on the way to you. Thanks for listening. I look forward to chatting next week on the Association Hustle.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of JP Murray's Association Hustle podcast. We'd love to connect with you. Check out our blogs at murraycompany.com and subscribe to our weekly newsletter. You can also connect with JP on LinkedIn and Twitter at JP Murray, as well as the Murray Company's Instagram and Facebook page. To purchase a copy of JP's book, Association Hustle, Top Strategies for Association Growth, go to jpmurray.com.